If you say yes to everyone, you lose yourself. That is not a metaphor, it is not a motivational quote you put on a bathroom mirror, and it is certainly not something you should read quickly and forget. That sentence is the quiet diagnosis of a life that looks polite on the outside, but feels empty on the inside. You have been trained your entire life to believe that saying yes is the same as being good. Your parents taught you to share. Your teachers gave you gold stars for cooperation. Your boss calls you a team player every time you stay late without complaining. Your friends know you as the reliable one, the one who never says no, the one who shows up even when you are running on empty. And on the surface, all of that sounds wonderful. Who wouldn't want to be nice? Who wouldn't want to be helpful? But here's the question nobody asks you. What has your niceness cost you? Not in dollars, but in sleep, in peace, in the slow, creeping resentment that lives underneath your smile. You know the feeling I'm talking about. It's that moment when your phone buzzes with another request and your stomach drops. It's that feeling of being asked for something when you have nothing left to give, but you say yes anyway because you're afraid of what will happen if you say no. Afraid they will be angry, afraid they will think you were selfish, afraid they will leave, afraid they will stop loving you. And so you swallow your real answer, you paste on a smile, and you say yes one more time. And then you hang up the phone and you feel it, that heaviness, that quiet anger at yourself for doing it again. That is not kindness, that is self-abandonment. And the world does not reward self-abandonment. The world does not look at the person who never says no and think, what a strong, admirable human being. The world looks at that person and thinks, convenient. Think about that word for a moment, convenient. That is what you have become. You have become the person people call when they need something because they know you will not push back. You have become the person who stays late, who lends money, who listens to problems, who fixes other people's messes, who shows up to events you hate, who says yes to things that drain you because you are terrified of the alternative. And here's the cruelest part of all. The people who take advantage of your niceness do not respect you. They appreciate you the way they appreciate a working dishwasher. The moment the dishwasher breaks, they are annoyed. The moment you finally say no, they act betrayed. Not because you did anything wrong, but because you stopped being convenient. And that anger they show you, that guilt trip they send you on, that is not evidence that you are a bad person. That is evidence that they were never respecting you in the first place. They were using you, and you let them. Not because you were stupid, but because you were taught that love and approval are earned through sacrifice. You were taught that if you were good enough, helpful enough, available enough, people will finally see your value and treat you right. But that is a lie, a beautiful, seductive, destructive lie. The truth is that people treat you exactly how you teach them to treat you. Every time you say yes when you mean no, you are teaching that person that your boundaries do not matter. Every time you laugh off something that actually hurts you, you are teaching that person that your feelings are not serious. Every time you apologize for having needs, you are teaching the world that you come last, and the world will believe you. The world will happily put you last if you keep volunteering for that position. So, today, day 8 of this journey, we are going to talk about self-respect. Not the Instagram version of self-respect with sunrise photos and journaling prompts. Real self-respect, the kind that makes your voice change, the kind that makes people pause when you speak because they can feel that you mean what you say. Self-respect is not about being rude or aggressive. It's not about burning bridges or becoming cold. Self-respect is the quiet, unshakable knowledge that your needs matter as much as anyone else's. It is the ability to say no without explaining yourself for 10 minutes. It is the ability to disappoint someone without feeling like you have committed a crime. It is the ability to walk away from people, jobs, and situations that demand you shrink yourself to stay. And here's what most people never realize. Self-respect is not something you were born with. It's not a personality trait like being tall or having blue eyes. Self-respect is a muscle, and you have been letting that muscle atrophy every single time you chose approval over honesty. But muscles can be rebuilt. Not overnight, not with positive thinking alone, but with small, painful, necessary actions. Starting today, starting with the word no. I want you to understand something very important before we go any further. Saying no is not mean. Saying no is not selfish. Saying no is not a failure of kindness. In fact, saying no is often the kindest thing you can do. Because when you say no to something you don't want to do, you are saying yes to something else. You are saying yes to your peace. You are saying yes to your energy. You are saying yes to the people and things that actually matter to you. A person who says yes to everything says yes to nothing. Their yes becomes meaningless because it costs nothing. But a person who says no most of the time, when that person says yes, it means something. It means they are all in. It means they actually want to be there. That's real kindness, not the exhausted, resentful, burnt-out version of kindness you've been performing. Real kindness comes from a full cup, not an empty one. And you have been running on empty for so long that you have forgotten what full even feels like. So here's your first real exercise for day 8. I want you to take out your phone or a piece of paper, and I want you to write down the last 5 times you said yes when you meant no. Don't skip this. Don't tell yourself you'll do it later. Do it now. Write down the situation, who asked you, what you actually wanted to say, and what you were afraid would happen if you said no. Be specific. Don't say, I was afraid they would be mad. Say, I was afraid my boss would think I am lazy and pass me over for the promotion. Say, I was afraid my friend would call me selfish and stop inviting me to things. Say, I was afraid my partner would withdraw affection and I would feel abandoned. Name the fear, because that fear is the leash. That fear is what other people have been pulling to make you move. And as long as you are more afraid of their disappointment than you are committed to your own peace, you will never be free. Tomorrow, in part 2, we are going to talk about the difference between being nice and being good, because they are not the same thing, and confusing them has ruined more lives than any other mistake I know. But for tonight, I want you to sit with this question. If you lost every relationship in your life tomorrow because you finally started saying no, would you be heartbroken or relieved? Be honest. The answer to that question will tell you everything you need to know about who has been holding the leash. Now close your eyes for 10 seconds. Take one deep breath, and when you open them, remember that you are not here to be convenient. You are here to be real, and real people say no. Real people have edges. Real people lose the ones who only wanted a version of them that never complained. And that loss is not a tragedy. That loss is a gift. Let me ask you something that might make you uncomfortable. Do you actually want to be nice? Or do you just want to avoid the consequences of not being nice? Because those are two completely different things, and confusing them has been the quiet engine of your exhaustion for years. Think about it. When you say yes to something you hate doing, are you doing it because your heart is overflowing with generosity? Or are you doing it because you are afraid of the argument, the silence, the disapproval, or the guilt that will follow if you say no? Most people who describe themselves as too nice are not actually overflowing with kindness. They are overflowing with fear. Fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of being seen as difficult, fear of being abandoned. And fear is not kindness. Fear is fear. It wears a mask that looks like niceness, but underneath that mask is a person who is terrified that if they stop performing, everyone will leave. And here is the problem with performing niceness. It is exhausting. It is a full-time job with no pay and no vacation. You have to constantly monitor what you say, how you say it, whether you are being too much or not enough. You have to anticipate other people's reactions before you even know your own feelings. You have to smile when you want to scream. You have to agree when you want to argue. You have to stay when you want to walk away. That is not a personality. That is a prison. And the worst part is that you built it yourself, brick by brick, with every yes that should have been a no. So let me draw a line right now that might save your life. Being nice is not the same as being good. Nice is surface level. Nice is polite. Nice is what you do to keep the peace. Nice says it's fine when it is not fine. Nice laughs at the joke that actually hurt. Nice lends the money knowing it will never come back. Nice stays in the room when every bone in the body wants to leave. Nice is survival behavior. It is what you learn to do as a child to stay safe, to stay loved,
to stay out of trouble. And it worked back then, when you were small and powerless and needed the adults around you to approve of you so you could feel secure. But you are not small anymore. You are not powerless. And the people who get angry when you say no are not your parents, and they do not have the power to unmake you. But your brain has not caught up to that reality yet. Your nervous system still reacts to a no like it is a life or death situation. Your heart still races. Your stomach still drops. Your mouth still says yes before your mind has even had a chance to check in with what you actually want. That is not weakness. That is conditioning, and conditioning can be broken. But first, you have to understand what good actually looks like. Because good is not the same as nice, and good people are not always nice. Good is deeper. Good has integrity. Good tells the truth even when the truth is uncomfortable. Good says, I love you, but I cannot do that for you. Good says, I care about our relationship too much to lie to you about how I feel. Good says, I respect you enough to be honest, even if it means you might be disappointed in me. Good people disappoint others all the time, not because they enjoy it, but because they understand that disappointing someone is not the same as hurting someone. Let me say that again because it is crucial. Disappointing someone is not the same as hurting someone. When you say no to a request, you are not stabbing that person. You are not abandoning them. You are not being cruel. You are simply saying, I cannot give you what you are asking for right now. That is disappointment. That is not harm. But you have been raised in a culture, especially here in America, that has taught you that any form of disappointment is a form of betrayal. Think about the messages you have absorbed. Good friends always show up. Good employees never say no. Good partners put the other person first. Good parents sacrifice everything. These are not truths. These are scripts. And they are scripts that benefit other people, not you. The person who tells you that good friends always show up is usually the person who never shows up for you. The boss who says good employees never say no is the boss who will work you into burnout and replace you in a week. The partner who says good partners put the other person first is usually the partner who puts themselves first and calls it love. Do you see the pattern? The people who demand your niceness the loudest are almost never the people who are nice to you. They are the people who need you to stay small, stay available, and stay quiet so they can keep taking. And you have been calling that being a good person. But let me ask you a harder question. If being a good person means you are tired, resentful, and secretly wishing everyone would leave you alone, is that actually goodness? Or is that just martyrdom with a smile? Real goodness does not require you to disappear. Real goodness does not require you to tolerate mistreatment. Real goodness does not require you to set yourself on fire to keep someone else warm. In fact, real goodness requires the opposite. Real goodness requires that you take care of yourself first so that you actually have something real to give. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You have heard that saying 1,000 times, but you've never actually believed it. Because if you believed it, you would have stopped pouring a long time ago. You would have said, I need rest, instead of, sure, I can help. You would have said, that doesn't work for me, instead of, no problem. You would have said, I am at my limit, instead of pretending everything is fine while you quietly drown. But you did not say those things because you have been taught that self-care is selfish, that boundaries are walls, that saying no is a rejection of love. And none of that is true. That is the programming of a culture that profits from your exhaustion. The American workplace, the American family, the American friendship culture. So much of it runs on the fuel of people who are too nice to say no. You are the engine, and they have been running you on empty for years. So today, we are going to start reprogramming. We are going to separate nice from good, and we are going to choose good every single time. Here's how you start. The next time someone asks you for something, and your first instinct is to say yes out of fear, I want you to pause. Just pause. Take 3 full seconds before you answer. In those 3 seconds, ask yourself one question. Am I saying yes because I want to, or because I am afraid of what will happen if I say no? That is it. You do not have to say no yet. You do not have to change your whole life in one moment. You just have to notice the difference between a willing yes and a fearful yes. And once you start noticing, you will be horrified by how many of your yeses are actually fear in disguise. You will see it at work when your boss asks you to take on another project and your stomach sinks. You will see it with your friends when they make plans you never wanted to be part of. You will see it with your family when they make demands that have nothing to do with love and everything to do with control. And you will see it most of all with yourself, every time you ignore your own exhaustion because you are too afraid of what other people will think. That noticing is the first crack in the wall. That noticing is the beginning of self-respect, because you cannot change what you refuse to see. And you have been refusing to see this for a very long time. You have told yourself stories. I'm just a helpful person. I like making people happy. It's not a big deal. I can handle it. But you cannot handle it. That is why you are here on day 8. That is why you are listening to this voice telling you the truth that everyone else is too nice to say. You are tired. You are tired of being the one who always says yes. You are tired of being taken for granted. You are tired of feeling invisible, even though you are the one holding everything together. And that tiredness is not a sign that you are weak. That tiredness is a sign that you have been strong for too long in the wrong direction. You have been using your strength to please people who wouldn't cross the street to please you. And that is not kindness. That is misdirected power. So let me give you a new definition of goodness to carry with you for the rest of this week. A good person is not someone who never says no. A good person is someone who knows when to say no, so their yes actually means something. A good person is someone who protects their energy, so they have real energy to give. A good person is someone who tells the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable, because lies, even polite lies, are not love. A good person is someone who respects themselves enough to expect respect from others. That is who you are going to become. Not nicer, gooder. And gooder people are not always popular. Gooder people lose some friends. Gooder people make some bosses uncomfortable. Gooder people get called selfish by people who benefited from their silence. That is the cost of self-respect. But here's what you gain. Your life back, your energy back, your peace back, the ability to look in the mirror and not feel ashamed of all the times you betrayed yourself. That is worth more than any approval from any person who only liked you because you were easy. In part 3, we are going to get extremely practical. We are going to talk about exactly how to say no, the words, the scripts, the body language, the strategies for handling the guilt trip, the anger, the silent treatment, and the manipulation that will come when you start changing, because they will push back. They always do when the dishwasher suddenly wants to stop being a dishwasher. But you are not a dishwasher. You are a human being, and human beings are allowed to have limits.
You have spent years saying yes when you meant no. That pattern did not appear overnight, and it will not disappear overnight. But it will disappear, starting right now, with the words you are about to learn. Because the problem has never been that you do not want to say no. The problem is that you do not know how. Your throat closes up, your heart starts pounding, your mind races through every possible terrible outcome, and in that moment of panic, your mouth opens, and the word that comes out is yes. Not because you are weak, because you never learned the skill. And make no mistake, saying no is a skill. It is a muscle. It is a set of techniques that can be practiced, rehearsed, and mastered, just like learning to play the guitar or drive a stick shift. You have simply never been taught. Your parents did not teach you because they wanted you to be obedient. Your teachers did not teach you because they wanted a quiet classroom. Your boss does not want you to learn because your no makes their life harder. The entire culture around you benefits from your inability to say no. So of course you never learned. But today, you learn. And we are going to start with the most important principle of saying no, which is this: you do not owe anyone an explanation. Repeat that out loud right now. I do not owe anyone an explanation. Say it again. One more time. That sentence is going to save you years of anxiety and overthinking. Because what most people do when they try to say no is they turn it into a negotiation. They say, I can't tonight because I have a headache. And then the other person says, oh, take some Advil, it'll be fine. And suddenly you are trapped. They say, I don't have the money right now. And the other person says, you can pay me back next week. And suddenly you are trapped. They say, I'm really busy. And the other person says, it'll only take 5 minutes. And suddenly you are trapped. Do you see the pattern? Every time you give a reason, you are handing that person a key to unlock your no. You are turning your boundary into a debate. And you will lose that debate every single time because the other person is not trying to understand you. They are trying to get what they want. So the first rule of saying no is, do not justify, do not explain, do not apologize excessively. You are not on trial. You do not need to prove that your no is valid. Your no is valid because you said it. That is enough. Now, let me give you the actual scripts. These are word-for-word sentences you can use tomorrow, today, in the next hour, if someone asks you for something you do not want to do. Memorize them, practice them in the mirror, write them on a sticky note and put it on your phone. The first script is the simplest and the most powerful. That doesn't work for me. That is it. No explanation, no apology. That doesn't work for me. If they ask why, you say, it just doesn't. Or, I don't need to explain. Or you repeat the same sentence again. That doesn't work for me. This sentence is beautiful because it is not about them. It is about you. You are not saying they are bad or wrong. You are simply stating a fact about your own life. The second script is for when someone asks you to do something and you want to say no without burning the bridge. I appreciate you asking, but I cannot do that right now. Notice there is no I'm sorry. No, maybe next time. No, let me check my schedule and get back to you. Just appreciation and a clear no. You appreciate that they thought of you. You are saying no anyway. The third script is for when someone is pushy and will not take the first no. This is the broken record technique.
You say the exact same sentence over and over again, calmly, without anger, without raising your voice. Them, can you cover my shift? You, I can't do that. Them, come on, I really need it. You, I can't do that. Them, you never help me anymore. You, I can't do that. Them, you are being so selfish. You, I understand you feel that way, and I still can't do that. Do you see the power? You are not arguing. You are not defending. You are not explaining. You are simply holding the line. And holding the line is the entire game. The fourth script is for when you are afraid of the emotional reaction. Maybe the person will cry, get angry, give you the silent treatment, or accuse you of not caring. This script is, I can see that you are upset, and I still need to take care of myself right now. That sentence acknowledges their feelings without taking responsibility for them. Their feelings are theirs. You can be kind about them. You can see them, but you do not have to fix them by changing your no into a yes. That is the old you. The old you would see someone upset and immediately cave. The new you says, I see you are upset, and my answer is still no. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. And clarity is kindness. Now, let us talk about body language, because your words mean nothing if your body is screaming the opposite. When you say no, your body must match your mouth. That means no shrinking, no looking at the floor, no small voice, no apologetic smile. You stand or sit up straight. You look the person in the eye. You keep your voice calm, steady, and at a normal volume. You do not whisper. You do not shout. You do not laugh nervously. You simply state your no, like you are stating the weather. It is raining today. That doesn't work for me. Same tone, same certainty. The reason body language matters so much is that people read your body before they hear your words. If your shoulders are hunched and your voice is shaky, they will push because they sense weakness. But if you are calm, grounded, and steady, they will pause. They will feel that something has changed in you, and that change is self-respect becoming visible. You also need to prepare for the pushback, because it will come. When you start saying no, people who are used to your yes will react. They may get angry. They may guilt trip you. They may say things like, I thought I could count on you, or you have changed, or you are being so difficult now. Let me translate those sentences for you, so you are not confused by them. When someone says, I thought I could count on you, what they really mean is, I thought I could use you. When someone says, you have changed, what they really mean is, you have stopped being convenient for me. When someone says, you are being so difficult, what they really mean is, you are not doing what I want. None of these statements are objective facts about you. They are manipulations designed to make you feel guilty, so you will go back to being the old, compliant, easy-to-use version of yourself. Do not fall for it. Instead, have a response ready. When they say you have changed, you say, yes, I have. I am learning to take better care of myself. When they say, I thought I could count on you, you say, you can count on me to be honest about what I can and cannot do. When they say, you are being so difficult, you say, I am sorry you feel that way. My answer is still no. See the pattern again? You acknowledge their feeling without owning it. You stay kind without caving. You hold the line. Now, let me prepare you for something even harder than pushback. Sometimes when you start saying no, people will leave. Not all of them. Most of them will adjust, but some will disappear. They will stop calling. They will stop inviting you. They will act like you are the one who ruined the relationship. And this will hurt. I am not going to pretend it does not hurt. It hurts to realize that someone you cared about was only there because you were useful. It hurts to watch people walk away because you finally asked for basic respect. But let me ask you something important. If someone leaves because you said no to one request, were they ever really there for you? Or were they there for what you could do for them? A real friendship, a real partnership, a real family relationship can survive a no. In fact, real relationships get stronger when people can say no to each other without punishment. The relationships that cannot survive a no are not relationships. They are transactions. And you've been treating transactions like they are love. That's why you are so exhausted. You've been pouring your heart into people who see you as a resource. And when you stop being a resource, they leave. That is not a loss. That is a revelation. And a revelation is a gift because it frees up your time and energy for people who actually see you. So here is your homework for today, and I want you to actually do it, not just think about doing it. Before tomorrow, I want you to say no to something small. Not your boss, not your mother, something small. A coworker asks you to grab coffee and you do not want to. A friend asks you to watch their pet and you are tired. A family member asks you to come to an event that drains you. Say no. Use one of the scripts. That doesn't work for me. I appreciate you asking, but I cannot do that right now. Say it without a long explanation. Say it without apologizing. Say it and then sit in the discomfort. Your heart will race. You will want to take it back. You will want to send a follow-up text explaining yourself. Do not do any of that. Just let the discomfort be there. Let it sit in your chest. Let it exist without trying to fix it. That discomfort is not a sign that you did something wrong. That discomfort is the feeling of a boundary being built. And boundaries feel strange at first, like new shoes. They pinch. They rub. They are uncomfortable until you break them in. But if you keep wearing them, they become the most comfortable thing you have ever owned. That is what self-respect feels like. Uncomfortable at first, then natural, then necessary, then non-negotiable. In part 4, we are going to talk about the people in your life who will test your new boundaries the hardest. The guilt trippers, The silent treatment givers, the ones who make your no about your character. We are going to give you specific strategies for every single one of them, because you are not just learning to say no, you are learning to survive the aftermath. And you will survive. You will not just survive, you will thrive. But first, say no to one small thing today. Just one. Prove to yourself that you can. The voice in your head that says you cannot is lying. You have always been able to say no. You just chose not to. Now you are choosing differently. And that choice is the beginning of everything.
You have started saying no. Good. You have used the scripts. You have held your body language steady. You have felt the discomfort and stayed in it. And now, the people in your life are reacting. Some of them are fine. Some of them barely notice. But some of them, the ones who benefited most from your old niceness, are not fine at all. They are angry. They are hurt. They are confused. And they are going to make it your problem. This is the moment where most people quit. This is the moment where they say, this self-respect thing is too hard, or maybe I was being too harsh, or maybe they are right and I am being selfish. They take back their no. They apologize for something they should not apologize for. They go back to being the nice, convenient, exhausted person they used to be. And they tell themselves they are keeping the peace. But here's the truth they will not admit. They are not keeping the peace. They are keeping the slavery. Because peace that requires you to disappear is not peace. It is a hostage situation. And you are the hostage. So today, we are going to talk about the specific tactics people use when you start saying no. We are going to name them, decode them, and give you the exact response for each one. Because forewarned is forearmed, and you need to be armed if you are going to survive the pushback. Let us start with the most common tactic, the guilt trip. The guilt trip comes in many forms, but they all have the same goal. They want you to feel bad so you will change your no back into a yes. The classic guilt trip lines sound like this. After everything I have done for you, I thought you cared about me. I would do it for you. You are so lucky I am even asking. I guess I just can't count on anyone anymore. Fine, I'll just figure it out myself. And my personal favorite, the one that has collapsed more boundaries than any other sentence in the English language, I really need you right now. Every single one of these sentences is designed to make you feel like a bad person for having a limit. They are not asking you to help. They are asking you to feel guilty. And if you take the bait, you will immediately start defending yourself. You'll say, no, I do care about you. Or, that's not fair. I have done so much for you. Or, okay, fine, I'll do it. Stop right there. Do not defend, do not explain, do not jade. That's an acronym you need to remember for the rest of your life. JADE stands for justify, argue, defend, explain. When you jade, you lose, because you are now playing their game on their field with their rules. The moment you start explaining why you said no, you are admitting that your no needs a reason, and it does not. Your no is the reason. So how do you respond to a guilt trip without jading? You use a technique called labeling the guilt. You simply name what they are doing without getting emotional about it. You say, it sounds like you're trying to make me feel guilty for saying no. That's it. You don't say it angrily. You don't say it sarcastically. You say it calmly, like you are a narrator describing a scene in a movie. It sounds like you're trying to make me feel guilty for saying no. Most people will stop immediately when you do this, because you've exposed the tactic. They didn't expect you to see it. They expected you to react emotionally, but you didn't. You observed. And observation is power. If they keep going, you say, I hear that you are disappointed, and I still cannot do what you are asking. Notice the structure. Acknowledge their feeling, repeat your boundary. That's the two-step dance of self-respect. Acknowledge, repeat. Acknowledge, repeat. You can do this all day. You can do this forever, because you are not trying to win an argument. You are not trying to make them understand. You are simply holding a door that you have decided to close. They can be angry outside that door. They can cry outside that door. They can call you names outside that door. The door stays closed. Now let's talk about the silent treatment. This is a favorite tactic of people who cannot handle conflict directly. When you say no, they stop talking to you. They ignore your texts. They leave you unread. They act like you do not exist. And this hurts. It hurts because you are a human being wired for connection. Silence from someone you care about feels like punishment, and that is exactly what it is. The silent treatment is not a boundary. A boundary is,
I need some space to process my feelings. The silent treatment is, I am going to punish you by withholding my presence until you do what I want. Those are two completely different things. One is healthy, one is manipulation. And you need to know the difference so you don't confuse punishment with self-care. So what do you do when someone gives you the silent treatment because you said no? The answer may surprise you. You do nothing. You don't chase them. You don't send a dozen texts apologizing for something you did not do wrong. You don't show at their door begging them to talk to you. You let them be silent. You go live your life. You go do the things you said yes to for yourself. You go enjoy the peace that their absence actually gives you. Because here's the secret about the silent treatment. It only works if you are afraid of silence. And you are afraid of silence. That's why you've been saying yes all these years. You are terrified of the quiet. You are terrified of someone being upset with you. You are terrified of the distance. But distance is not danger. Silence is not death. And the people who use the silent treatment are counting on your terror to bring you back. Do not go back. Let them sit in their silence. Let them sit in their own feelings. They are an adult. They can use their words when they are ready. And if they never use their words, if they never come back, then you have learned something invaluable about that relationship. It was conditional. It only existed as long as you said yes. And a relationship that cannot survive a single no is not a relationship worth having. Now let's talk about the anger tactic. Some people don't go quiet. They go loud. They yell. They call you selfish, ungrateful, difficult, cold, heartless. They say things like, you are not the person I thought you were, or you have become so entitled, or everyone is going to see who you really are. This is scary, especially if you grew up around anger, especially if you learned as a child that anger leads to danger. Your nervous system will want to appease. Your mouth will want to say, okay, I'm sorry, I'll do it. Do not. Instead, you do something counterintuitive. You get calm. Not fake calm, real calm. You take a breath, you lower your voice, and you say, I can see that you are angry. I'm going to step away from this conversation. We can talk again when you are calmer. Then you leave. You hang up the phone. You walk out of the room. You don't stay and absorb their anger. You are not their punching bag. You are not their emotional trash can. Their anger belongs to them. They need to feel it, process it, and deal with it themselves. That's not your job. It never was. But you have been doing that job for years. You have been absorbing other people's emotions so they wouldn't have to feel them. And in return, they gave you nothing except more requests. So stop. The next time someone yells at you for saying no, you walk away. And when you walk away, you are not being rude. You are being responsible. You are taking care of the only person in that interaction who is trying to be healthy, which is you. Now let's talk about the most insidious tactic of all. The one that works on smart, kind, thoughtful people. The false equivalence. This is when someone compares your no to something completely different to make you look unreasonable. They say things like, so if I was dying on the side of the road, you would just drive past? Or, so you're saying you never need help from anyone ever? Or, so I guess we should just never ask each other for anything again? These are traps. They take your specific no to a specific request and blow it up into an absolute statement about your entire character. Do not fall for it. The correct response is, that is not what I said. I said I cannot do this specific thing right now. Those other situations are different and we can talk about them if they ever happen. But right now, we are talking about this. And my answer is no. See how you bring it back to the specific? You don't let them expand the conversation into philosophy. You keep it small, you keep it real. You keep it about the one request that you said no to, because that's all that happened. You said no to one thing. You didn't declare war on all human connection. You didn't announce that you will never help anyone ever again. You simply said no to one thing, and that is allowed. That has always been allowed. You just never let yourself do it. So now let me prepare you for something that might be the hardest part of all. Sometimes, after you hold your boundary, after you survive the guilt trip and the silent treatment and the anger, the person comes back. They apologize. They say they are sorry. They say they understand. And then, a few days later, they ask again. The exact same thing, or something very similar. And when you say no again, they act shocked. They act like they are starting from zero. They act like the last conversation never happened. This is called boundary testing, and it is exhausting. The person is not trying to be malicious. They are simply trying to see if your no is real, or if it was just a one-time thing. Most people's boundaries are not real. Most people say no once, feel guilty, and then go back to normal. So the people in your life have learned that if they just wait long enough, you will go back to being the old you. You have trained them well. Now you have to retrain them, and retraining takes repetition. You will have to say the same no multiple times. You will have to hold the same line over and over again, and each time you do, it gets easier. The first time you say no, it's an earthquake. The 10th time, it's a ripple. The 100th time, it's nothing. They don't even ask anymore because they already know the answer. That is the goal. Not to never be asked, but for people to know deep in their bones that your no means no and your yes means something. That is respect. That's what we are building here. So here's your homework for today. Identify the person in your life who pushes back hardest when you say no. The guilt tripper, the silent treatment giver, the yeller, the boundary tester, and write down 3 specific tactics they use. Then write down your response for each tactic using what you learned today. For the guilt tripper, you will label the guilt. It sounds like you're trying to make me feel guilty. For the silent treatment giver, you will do nothing. You will wait. For the yeller, you will leave the room. I will talk to you when you are calmer. For the boundary tester, you will repeat your no without new explanation. I already answered that. The answer is still no. Practice these responses out loud. Say them in the car, say them in the shower, say them to your mirror, because when the moment comes, you will not have time to think. Your old programming will try to take over. The only thing that will stop it is muscle memory, and muscle memory comes from practice. In part 5, we are going to talk about the final piece: how to rebuild your relationships after you start saying no, how to find people who actually respect your boundaries, how to become someone who is kind, generous, and loving, not because you are afraid, but because you choose to be. That's the destination, not a cold, isolated fortress. A warm, connected life with real walls and a real door that you control. You are almost there. Hold the line. One more part to go.
You have made it to the final part of day 8. If you have been listening to all 5 parts, something has shifted in you. Not everything, not yet, but something. A crack in the old wall. A quiet voice that was not there before. A small, growing certainty that you do not have to live like this anymore. That you do not have to say yes until you collapse, that you do not have to be everyone's convenience, that you are allowed to take up space, to have limits, to say no without writing a 5-paragraph essay justifying yourself. That voice is your self-respect waking up, and it has been asleep for a very long time, maybe your whole life. Today we are going to talk about what comes next, because saying no is not the destination, it is the vehicle. The destination is a life where you are respected, not just used. A life where your relationships are built on mutual care, not on your willingness to disappear. A life where you can be kind without being weak, generous without being exploited, loving without being a doormat. That life exists. It is not a fantasy, but you have to build it. And building it requires 3 things. First, you have to repair your relationship with yourself. Second, you have to rebuild your existing relationships with new rules. Third, you have to find or cultivate people who already understand respect. Let us start with the most important relationship, the one with yourself. You have spent years betraying yourself. Every time you said yes when you meant no, you sent a message to your own soul. Your soul said, "I am tired," and you said, "Shut up." Your gut said, "I do not want to do this," and you said, "I don't care what you want." Your body said, "I need rest," and you said, "Not until everyone else is taken care of." That is betrayal. Not dramatic betrayal like cheating or stealing, quiet betrayal, the kind that happens in thousands of small moments. And that betrayal has eroded your self-trust. You don't trust yourself to keep your own promises. You don't trust yourself to protect your own peace. You don't trust yourself to follow through on a no. And if you don't trust yourself, why would anyone else trust you? Why would anyone respect you when you have shown them over and over that your own boundaries mean nothing to you? So the first repair is internal. You have to start keeping promises to yourself. Small promises, tiny promises, promises so small that you cannot fail. Promise yourself that you will drink a glass of water when you wake up. Then do it. Promise yourself that you will go to bed 15 minutes earlier. Then do it. Promise yourself that you will say no to one small thing today. Then do it. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you deposit a coin in your self-trust bank. Every time you break a promise, you withdraw one. And right now your bank is empty. You have been making withdrawals for years without a single deposit. No wonder you feel bankrupt. So start depositing. Start with the smallest possible promise. Keep it. Feel what that feels like. That feeling is self-respect. It is not dramatic. It is not fireworks. It is a quiet, solid feeling in your chest that says, "I am someone who does what I say I will do." That feeling is the foundation of everything else. Now let's talk about rebuilding your existing relationships. This is delicate because you cannot control other people. You can only control yourself. And some of the people in your life will adapt to the new you. Some will not. Your job is not to force them to adapt. Your job is to give them a chance to adapt and then to make decisions based on how they respond. Here is how you do it. First, you stop over-apologizing for your boundaries. Don't say, "I'm so sorry, I know I've been different lately, I'm just going through something." That's not honest. That's you trying to soften the blow because you are still afraid of their reaction. Instead, you say nothing. You simply act differently. You say no when you mean no. You say yes when you mean yes. You don't explain, you don't announce. You just change your behavior, and you let them notice. Some of them will notice and adjust.
They will stop asking you for things you always hated doing. They will start checking in with you before assuming you are available. They will say, I really appreciate that you were honest with me instead of saying yes and resenting me. Those people are keepers. They're not perfect. They may have benefited from your old niceness. But when you changed, they changed with you. That is a sign of a real relationship. Hold on to those people. Love them. Show up for them. Because they have shown you that they value you, not just what you do for them. Then there are the people who do not adjust. They keep pushing, they keep guilt-tripping, they keep testing your boundaries. They act like the conversation we had in part 4 never happened. These people are telling you something important. They are telling you that they are not capable of respecting your limits. Not because you're not explaining well enough, not because you haven't given them enough chances, but because they don't want to. Because your convenience is more important to them than your peace. And that is not a communication problem. That is a character problem. Their character, not yours. So what do you do with these people? You don't need to have a dramatic confrontation. You don't need to announce that you are cutting them off. You simply change the amount of access they have to you. You take longer to respond to their texts. You say no more often. You stop volunteering for things. You stop being the first person they call. You quietly, gently, without anger, move them from the inner circle to the outer circle. And if they eventually drift away, you let them. That is not you being cold. That is you being wise. You are making space for people who can actually love you. And you can't make that space if you are still holding on to people who only want to use you. This is the hardest part of gaining self-respect. Letting go. Not because you don't care, because you care too much. You care about people who have never cared about you the same way. You've been pouring your love into a bucket with no bottom, and you're exhausted because you've been trying to fill the unfillable. So stop. Let the bucket go. Let it fall. Let it be empty. That emptiness is not a loss. It is a vacancy, and a vacancy is an opportunity. Now let's talk about finding your people, because after you clear out the people who only wanted your niceness, you will have space, and that space needs to be filled with people who respect you. But here's the tricky part. If you have spent your whole life being the nice one, the pleaser, the one who says yes to everything, you may not even know what a healthy relationship looks like. You may be attracted to people who take because that's what feels familiar. You may mistake intensity for intimacy. You may mistake someone needing you for someone loving you. So you need new criteria. Here they are. A person who respects you asks for your time but accepts your no. A person who respects you does not keep score. They don't say, I did this for you, so you owe me. A person who respects you is curious about your inner world. They ask how you are and actually listen to the answer. A person who respects you does not punish you for having limits. They may be disappointed, but they do not retaliate. A person who respects you celebrates your growth, even when your growth means you say no to them. They say good for you instead of you have changed. These people exist. They are not rare. But you haven't been able to see them because you have been surrounded by takers. Takers are loud. Takers are demanding. Takers take up all the air in the room. Givers are quieter. Givers respect boundaries because they have boundaries of their own. Givers don't chase. Givers don't guilt trip. Givers show up when they can and say no when they cannot. You need to find the givers. And the way you find them is by becoming one yourself. Not the fake giver you used to be, the one who gave out of fear and resentment. The real giver. The one who gives because they want to, not because they have to. The one who gives from fullness, not emptiness. The one who says no 9 times so that the 10th yes is real, powerful, and life-giving. That is who you are becoming, and that person attracts other people like them. So here is your final homework for day 8, and I want you to take this seriously, because this is the bridge between learning and living. Write down 3 people in your life who respect your no, not people who tolerate it, people who respect it. People who say okay when you say no and mean it. If you can't think of 3, that's okay. Write down 1. If you can't think of 1, write down the kind of person you want to find. Describe them, their qualities, how they make you feel. Then over the next week, start paying attention. Notice who respects your small no's. Notice who pushes back, and start investing your energy accordingly. More time for the respecters, less time for the pushers. That is not revenge, that is resource allocation. Your time, your energy, your love are resources, and you've been giving them to people who waste them. Stop, give them to people who multiply them. One more thing before we close day 8. I need you to understand that you will slip. You will say yes when you mean no, you will apologize for boundaries you shouldn't apologize for, you will feel the old fear and cave. That doesn't mean you have failed, that means you are human. The goal is not perfection, the goal is progression. The goal is to say no 1 more time than you did last week. The goal is to hold the line 1 minute longer than you did yesterday. The goal is to look back in 6 months and see that you are not the same person who started this journey. And you will see that, because every no you say is a brick in the wall of your self-respect. Every time you disappoint someone by honoring yourself, you are building a life where your yes means something. Every time you choose your peace over their approval, you are becoming someone who cannot be used, manipulated, or jilted into abandoning yourself. That person is already inside you. They have been waiting. They have been watching you exhaust yourself for people who do not deserve you, and they are ready to come out. So let them. Say no today. Say no tomorrow. Say no until your voice does not shake. Say no until your heart does not race. Say no until the people around you know, without asking, that you are not the one to play with. And then, when you've built that wall, open the gate. Let the right people in. Love them fiercely. Give to them generously. Show up for them completely. Because you are not becoming cold. You are becoming selective. And selective is not selfish. Selective is sacred. This is day 8. Self-respect. You have the tools. You have the scripts. You have the understanding. Now you have to do the work. No one can do it for you. But you are not alone. Everyone who has ever stopped being too nice has walked this road. The guilt, the fear, the loneliness, the eventual freedom. They made it. So will you. Close your eyes for 10 seconds. Take a breath. And when you open them, say these words out loud. I am not here to be convenient. I am here to be real. My no is not cruel. My yes is not cheap. I respect myself. And that is enough. Day 8 is complete. Tomorrow, we continue. But for now, rest. You have earned it.